Now we'll leapfrog item 21, which we'll deal with at 2 o'clock this afternoon when we come back from the lunch break. So now moving to item 13, the Chief Executive's report. And Carleen, did you want to make some remarks, please?
Thank you. I just want to highlight it's been an extremely busy month, as they all are, but the successful launch of Turanga, and just noting there that between the 12th of October from the opening to the end of October, almost 65,000 people going through. And if you pop in there on any day, particularly at weekends, you'll see the place is just buzzing. It's made a huge difference, and the comments have all been positive in terms of people's experience of being there. Of course, there's a lot of information in the media about e-scooters, but again, a significant amount of use in those, that's right. So in the first 2 weeks, over 65,000, and just continues to grow. Usually medium distance, quite a short distance, and short trip time, and an average speed, when you take those into account, quite a lot lower than people were expecting. 6Ks, that's right. And just the other significant thing, there's a Nurses Memorial Chapel. It's great to have that very loved building back. Beautiful in terms of the work that people did, the staff did, and the contractors around restoring that. And as David Morrell said, actually rebuilding it almost from the bottom up. And then the other significant thing that's happening at the moment, the hearings for the stormwater consent application, which are over this whole week. So staff are busy at that for most of the time as well. There's plenty of other things in there as well, but it's been extremely busy.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Carleen on the Chief Executive's report? Yanni.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do want to just formally, I think we should formally acknowledge the staff who were involved with the library with Turanga rebuild. And I mean, I just think it's been amazing. And I don't know whether it's appropriate that we formally, as a council, acknowledge our appreciation for the huge effort that staff put in to that building and the reopening. I think logistically it must have been an absolute nightmare of a challenge, but it seemed to go almost seamlessly. And I just wonder whether there was any consideration or whether we need a resolution just to look at the opening hours, given its success and its popularity, whether there's any information that we could, we should be considering. It just seems shame to have such a wonderful building closing at 5 o'clock on the weekends.
Yeah.
So that would be a matter that we deal with, presumably, and Carleen, you might have some advice on that as a matter of levels of service through the annual plan longer term. If it was something that we were going to consider shorter term, is that something that would fall within your operational areas?
Yes, the issue really is there's a significant cost to that that hasn't been budgeted for, so we'd have to find out where we could find that OPEX a saving to be able to support that. So as you know, the staff have done a considerable amount of work to make sure that it's open on show day. And even that in itself, it will be a cost that we'd need to look at and find.
So I just wondered also whether there could be information made available to the community about how the community can actually use it for community events. And I don't know what uptake we've had. I don't know who's hiring it, but I just think it'd be really good just to get some understanding of that use.
Yes.
And then just the final question I had was on my council update. I think it's great, but I'm still really concerned that the feedback loop isn't working. And I just wondered if we'd had, I think at the previous Chief Executive's report, we asked if we could just get a breakdown of maybe the complaints and the responses. Is that something we're able to get, or how are we measuring that?
No, we can do that because we do have levels of service around responding to things like the complaints and the timeframes for that. And just recognising that with the My Council update, there's been an increase, particularly in the access to people being able to interact with the council.
Yeah, so I think previously we'd asked if we could get some information about the number of people that have registered, the number of complaints that have been put in, and you know what's happened to those. So
yes,
I
thought that actually the number of people registered is actually in here.
Yeah, on page 5.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Page 5.
So call volume up 10%, service debt 6,600, total 7,000 emails received, which is a 30% increase.
Oh, sorry. I was meaning for that My Council. So, you know, My Council, you can register and you can log a request.
So that's the request for services are now coming through My Council, so that's at 10,665.
So is that? So that's not total RFSs. That's just for the ones that are coming through My Council.
So no, our organisation is using My Council channels now. So whether they're registered online or by phone or any other way, they now go through the My Council system.
Okay, I'm still a little bit confused, but
So we can perhaps explain how it works. It's a briefing at some point. Or
I think it might be good to get a briefing on My Council, on what the uptake has been, what any customer feedback might have been, and also how it's rolled out through the organisation. I've certainly got some questions that I'd be very keen to be able to ask in a briefing. So, yeah, when time permits, let's bring a briefing on My Council so that we can get an update on how it's been received, how it's rolled out, any teething problems that there may have been, and, you know, what benefits we've seen already. I think that would be good.
I can just give you a little bit of a feedback. So since going live in September, we've received an extra 3,000 requests, including feedback, sent almost 3,000 text messages to citizens to notify them of their request, and have had 865 people create an online account to transact with us.
865 people.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think as a city, maybe we want to encourage more registration.
Yes, sure.
But we can let's have a briefing.
I think if we can get a briefing, we can talk about all of that in detail there, and that may well result in some outcomes that mean that people are encouraged to engage, and we get more uptake. Let's have the briefing. That sounds good.
Okay.
Are there any further questions for Carleen? Phil.
Basically, a comment, Carleen, in relation to telling us all the neat things that are happening in our city. Thank you for that. I particularly want to just make sure around the Port Hills restoration, where so many volunteers have participated in planting 2,500 plants. That's a huge number. Just making sure that in fact we would write to those volunteers, and the same with the Lower Heathcote young people. Can we make sure we commend them for their volunteering?
$100. Yeah. So we have a good relationship and partnerships with a range of volunteers, and that's an ongoing process with obviously the parks and other areas that maintain those relationships. So certainly they have a thank you in different forms of doing that.
Besides the young person who found $100 note.
That's right. Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any further questions on the report, Anne?
Just a clarification, really, following on from Yanni's comments about the success of the library. Just to confirm that it was a council-led project, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was completed on time and
yes,
under
on
budget.
Correct.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly echo the comments that have been made about Tauranga. I stepped into that building for the first time about 4 days before it opened, and I was a lot more excited about what I saw than I ever expected to be, and that's because of the nature of that building, and in particular what the nature of what's inside it and the way that it's presented. I think what we've got there is an international example of good practice with that kind of facility, and I'd just like to echo the comments that have been made congratulating the commitment of the staff who have been involved in that project. It's something that we as council quite rightly are absolutely proud of. This is council's project. It was on time, it was on budget, it is excellent. And we will continue to be proud of it for a very long time. And I mean, particularly I think in years to come, when I think of the legacy of this council and the previous council, Tauranga will be one of the things that really will figure in my mind as one of the post-earthquake council's legacies of something that we did not only well, but absolutely brilliantly. And the comments I've heard from people around the city suggest that the people of Christchurch agree with everything I've said. So that's great.
Yeah.
Aaron.
Yeah, don't disagree at all. I think it's a shining example of what a modern library can be internationally. But also on the flip side of that, and where Christchurch is at right now, is when you look at the Lime Scooter trial, which has had just as many users as the library, which cost $90 million, and the trials essentially cost us almost nothing, just some staff time. That's how much the world's changed in the last few years. So it's great that our city embraces both. and we keep to look for things that make our city different and attractive for locals to use and people from overseas, because I don't think the Lime scooters are going to take off everywhere, but certainly in Christchurch they seem to be going really well. So I just wanted to highlight that sometimes you don't need to invest in massive infrastructure to get a desirable outcome. Just empower someone else to do it and not hit people. Excellent. Thank you. So we've got a motion to receive the report, which I'm happy to move, and we've also got the acknowledgement of our appreciation of those involved in the Turanga development, commissioning and operations. So yeah, I'm certainly very happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Phil Clearwater. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried.